Hey, welcome back to another pack opening of Grandma's Church. We're going to get right into it today. First pull is Children's Church, fine card. Next, Guitar Solo. So Guitar Solo is one of those cards that you're going to find in both Mega Church and Grandma's Church. And people think that they overlap and you can use them basically in the same way in both settings. That's not the case. So in Mega Church, this is a really strong card. In Grandma's Church, it's not going to do well. Basically, no denominational deck is really going to utilize it well. Maybe a little bit for the non-denominational deck if you want to go with that, but it's not a very strong card. Guitar Solo. Sound system problems. So there are two cards like this. There is sound system problems and there's faulty sound system. So sound system problems you can actually get rid of if you have a Sound Guide Congregant card, whereas the faulty sound system is going to require you to use a budget card to get rid of it. It can be a little trickier. Flooded Basement. Obviously not a good card. This card's going to come about when you draw an Act of God card, which obviously you can't control. Whenever you get an Act of God card in a pack, you've got to put it in your deck. There's nothing you can do about it. There's always a chance it's going to happen. And if you pull an Act of God card that's rain or flooding, then there's a chance you're going to have to play this card. 100-Year-Old Building. Okay, when you're starting your deck, you got to pick denomination, you got to pick Calvinist, Arminianism, cessationalist, continuationist. There's a lot of things you got to choose. Buildings, you don't have a lot of choice. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. So 100-Year-Old Building, if that's what you draw, that's what you draw. That's what you're going to be playing with. And this one requires a building repair budget, which almost all of these cards, if they're an older building, they're going to require. So that's just something you got to live with. Okay, Second Piano. So this card here is a really interesting card because you might have a piano in your deck and you might think that that's enough, but you would be dead wrong. Second Piano, you've got to put in your deck. You're going to have like a grand piano as your main piano, and then you are going to have to play this second piano. I don't know exactly why it is, but it's just how the game play works. And you're going to see this across all denominational decks. Second piano. Communion Crackers. Basically, all Communion Cracker cards are the exact same. They're nothing that congregate cards get really excited about. Lord's Supper, great. People love it. But Communion Crackers, I prefer the whole communion loaf to Communion Crackers. Communion Crackers are fine. It's a good card. Church Sign Pun. A lot of people lean into this card. It's a fine card. I just don't think that it's as great as some people do. But it's fine. Stained Glass Windows. I just think this is a beautiful card. It used to be played a lot more in the earlier editions of the game. Not as many people put it in their decks anymore. You're going to find this normally in people who are building Lutheran decks, Methodist decks, Anglican decks, occasionally a Presbyterian deck. I've talked to a lot of people who play Baptist, Reformed Baptist, different types of decks like that. They like it. They want it. They just don't seem to have it in their deck. Okay, final card I've got. I could really use a new member. Okay, final card. Okay, Nursery Volunteer. Now this card here, you don't see a lot of Nursery Volunteers. It's a really important card. Everyone needs Nursery Volunteers. And everyone in the community is like, hey, can we get a few more Nursery Volunteer cards in circulation? It's really important that we have them. And that you just don't come by them very often. So when you get a Nursery Volunteer, you're going to want to put this in your deck. You're going to want to get as many as possible, because if you have the unsigned Nursery Volunteer checklist, that can impact sermons even, because that is something you don't want to go unsigned for long. You're going to want to get Nursery Volunteers. And then once you get enough Nursery Volunteers, you can actually get rid of the unsigned Nursery Volunteer checkup, which is always good for the deck. So Nursery Volunteer, great great poll. That's it for today. Hopefully we'll see you next week on the next pack opening of Grandma's Church.